Okay, Lisa, what are we calling you these days?
Well, I'm calling myself a godmother, a musical godmother. And part of that is that, like the fairy godmother that's really there to make sure you bring your genius forward, protects your soul. But then, like the godfather, I strategize, I put teams together and really marry those two ideas to really be, I guess, a catalyst for creative change and creative growth.
Okay, so 2012, how do you see it?
Well, I'm going to quote one of the great living Jungian therapists that I went and saw this year, because he talked about our time, which of course later in life we'll look back and it'll just be tiny, but right now we're in a doorway, in a liminal space that he calls the great in-between. I sometimes call it the new Wild West. And the idea is that what's come before is in decline. It's really not there anymore. And what's to come isn't arrived. So for artists, for creatives, I think it's a great time of opportunity, even though he says it's a great time of anxiety. So in Portland, or in our sort of world that I see, I think some of these opportunities are really well demonstrated by a couple artists that I know about. Last year we talked about Billy D. 63-year-old man, sort of blues singer-songwriter, has a viral video that now has been seen by, let me get the right number, 361,526 views over the course of a year. And so he's somebody that's moving forward at the age of 63. Three things have happened for him. He's got fans all over the world. He's making money from this viral video. And now he's got a partner. People are looking for the next acts on YouTube. Some of them are charlatans, but some of them are the real deal. They're the people that are making the new forms. So Billy's a great example of someone in this zeitgeist time where he's doing something very different. Jimmy Be Free. You guys profiled him. He's I don't know how we talk about him. He plays possibly the world's oldest the world's only 7-string acoustic violin. He loops it and he performs in the airport. He busks and makes a very nice living busking in the airport. Who would imagine? Brownish Black is a band I've been working with a lot, and they're moving backwards to go forwards with vinyl. They're releasing vinyl, 2 songs at a time on 45s, and very much is a local buzz band. Terry Courier, Music Millennium, looking backward again. Instead of having the classical room at Music Millennium, they now have a vinyl room. So there's sometimes this idea of going backwards to go forwards, but there's always the new idea. Alan Alexander of Alexander's, not ragtime band, Alexander's real-time band is what he calls it. He was in a band in the 90s called Dub Squad, and they were really the band of the day. And now what he's doing is single releases, digital only, and licensing. So there's just a variety of ways that in the New Wild West, artists can find a path that's going to lead them forward. So that's one zeitgeist, which is kind of an overlaying zeitgeist. Another one that I'm seeing, we talked a little bit about this last year, and I would say in 2012 it exploded. This idea of tribe and people who catalyze the tribe to make something bigger. Cody Beebe and the Crooks. Cody put on a really interesting festival this summer called the Chinook Fest, where he drew from acts from Portland, Seattle, and the Tri-Cities, and really was a kind of coming together of community, coming together of these different bands with the intention to get that triangle going. Locally, somebody that's really stepped up to be a leader is Josh Malm from Redwood Sun. And he put on a really cool concert at the Aladdin called Sing to Feed. And, dozens of performers coming together to raise money for people to have food, in our time. The Loop Ninja, Tony Smiley. He's kind of, I call him the Pied Piper of the looping world. He put on an event called the Loop Church, which brought together all these different performers using looping technology in very different ways. And we're at a time where looping technology is taking technology, the spirit of music, and bringing it together to really ensoul it, to make it almost be like music by magic. So he's these ideas of these group leaders, and maybe one more I'll mention, or two more. Rachel Rice and the Vulva Underground. I think the name of the year, and it's to identify a group of women who all have their own careers who come together to do tributes to male or female artists. They did a Neil Young, and they did a Joni Mitchell, and they've got a manifesto, they've got an attitude, and it's just great fun, you know. And the last one I'll mention, which I again mentioned last year, but in the time that we've spoken, oh my God, this particular grouping has just grown and been even more successful. And this is Jason Fellman and J Fell Presents with his what I call cover band cartel. And these guys are just everywhere, and they're on Zeitgeist, this whole cover band thing. And the next month in January, you can see a Led Zeppelin band called Ramble On. You can see Bon Jovi, Steel Horse, that's what they're called. The 80s band, Radical Revolution, and Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Deception. You know, all these different projects and even more that are just really tapping into that nostalgia, but doing a great job of bringing great music and bringing community together around that era. And of course, we talked about Jeff Rosenberg and the Last Waltz that's now connected with the Jeremy Wilson Foundation. Amazing. It's going to become an annual event every Thanksgiving, so we'll watch for that next year. Another catalyzing thing that I experienced this year, I saw one show which really demonstrates, I would say, the power of tribe when it really comes together and it's the right moment. Medicine for the People had been on tour, and they came back to do a show at the Wonder Ballroom. I was there with Stephanie Salvi, staff writer for Oregon Music News. And we agreed that something about that night, we felt like a scene came together right there. And I will give her credit for explaining that scene. She calls it hippie hop, which is a perfect example of this fusion thing where you have it's more about who's there. The crowd is very much our new hippies, maybe Burning Man-esque people, very creative. The audience itself. And then we have all these acts that have very different sounds, but they're all influenced by hip-hop. And it was Medicine for the People, Worth, who used to be in the band Naya, and then Marv Ellis, who's more of a hip-hop artist himself. It's just an amazing night, and I laid money on the fact that Medicine for the People is going to be the next big band out of Portland. They're being managed by Michael Franti's people, and he's a pretty spectacular being. He's a transformative agent, a little bit of a trickster. You got to see this act if you can. Another zeitgeist that I really want to talk about, which has come into my organization, is music and film. Right now I have a client that was a musician, or is a musician, but he's moved into filmmaking. His name is John Garcia. He has a film out that's been picked up by 15 film festivals and just got distributed nationally. All homemade in Portland. I call him Portland's Wes Anderson. Why? The soundtrack is all local, and it's very much defines his music making and filmmaking idea. And then his crew is local. He uses a lot of people from Mongrel Studios. Very interesting to see this film community echo the music community. Also, there's Sonic Media Studios, which is the foremost sound mixing for movies and film, and they have leverage. They have Grimm. They're moving into a new space, and they have hopes and plans to bring in a 7.1 sound mixing studio, which, if it can happen, will be the only one of its kind in the Northwest. It will be huge for Portland. So this intersection of sound, music, and film, I think, is really big.
Okay, well, I know you got more on your list there, but we've reached the attention span limit of people on the web. So thanks a lot, Lisa. Happy New Year. And, well, we should do this more than once a year.
You know, that's true because, boy, I got all kinds of things I want to talk about.
Right,
but you're going to be writing about these people in the future. So stay tuned. So great that Oregon Music News covers what's going on here in Portland. See you another time.